Hi everyone, welcome to this lesson on Jingle Bells in the version of Tommy Emmanuel. While the top tier patrons roll by a quick reminder that only the first part of the tutorial will be released on YouTube. For full access, please head over to my Patreon page or my soon-to-be online new website. All links are in the description down below, alongside the link to music notes where you can get the tab and notation file. So, Jingle Bells. Finally something simple. Finally something that won't turn into a 9-part, 3-hour-long marathon of a lesson. But when Tommy plays something as simple as Jingle Bells, you know you can expect something different in his approach. And in the case of this song, Tommy takes the harmony or the chord progression in a completely different direction. Chromatic bass lines, jazzy chords, tritone substitutions, it's all there. But despite all that, this song isn't as freakishly difficult as you might think. There are 4 parts to this tutorial, but 3 of those parts hardly touch the 10-minute mark. The only part where I have to talk about alternative fingerings and different options is in part 2. So let's keep the introduction as short as possible and let's dive straight in. Okay, straight to playing then. I'm using a thumb pick, although I guess it's perfectly possible to play this arrangement without one. But if you want to go for that super typical Tommy Emmanuel percussive backbeat, then a thumb pick is a good choice. And I'm also using a capo on the 2nd fret, as Tommy does. Normally I like to remove the capo for the lessons, but in this case, most of it is going to be in open position, so we can just go for the way Tommy does. So let's go through the first section, already dipping a little bit below concert speed. Here we go. Straight into the 2nd part. Now, the first part isn't too tricky. We're warming up for the rest of the song, so let's have a quick look. You start out pinky 5th fret on the G string together with an open E string on top. Repick the open E string and then drop the pinky down to the 4th fret, still on the G string, and add the index finger on the 1st fret of the B string. Again, G string and high E string together, and then arpeggiate that 1st fret on the B string and an open E string again. Then removing the pinky, dropping down the middle finger on the 2nd fret, again on the G string, just arpeggiating, 2nd fret G string, 1st fret B string, open E string again. And then Tommy again does this thing where he frets both the B string and the G string with one single finger. I'm still no good at doing that, so what I'm going to do, if you can do this, then the next chord is just 1st fret G string, 1st fret B string and open E string. I can do it like this, but not in the flow of the song. If it is tricky for you too, then you just drop down the middle finger, feels a bit awkward in the beginning, to the 1st fret on the G string. So, and that is what I'm going to do throughout the rest of the tutorial. So. And then it's just again G string and high E string together and back to the 1st fret on the B string. You keep the index finger on the 1st fret, you remove the middle finger and you play open G string, open E string, adding the pinky on the 3rd fret on the high E string, and then remember, you're still holding down that index finger on the 1st fret, add the middle finger on the 2nd fret on the G string, double stop, and then pinky 3rd fret, B string, index finger 1st fret, G string, sort of a part of an E dominant chord, and back to open G string, open high E string. Back with the index finger to the 1st fret on the B string, again just arpeggiate B string, E string, and then we're dropping down the middle finger, 2nd fret on the D string, and then the ring finger or pinky, whatever feels most natural, on the 3rd fret on the G string, giving you a C dominant 7th chord, but with an E down below in the bass. The timing of those last 2 bars goes like this. Straight 8th notes all the way at the back. Tommy uses the thumb pick quite a bit on that last arpeggio, often really just sweeping through D string, G string, B string, and then picking with the index finger, middle finger, the high E string. I like to use the thumb pick on 2 strings, and then index finger, middle finger for the top strings. See what works for you. First 4 bars, then we drop down, small bar across the 1st fret together with the ring finger on the 3rd fret. Basically you're going for a small F chord shape, ring finger, 3rd fret, D string, middle finger, 2nd fret, G string, and a small bar on the 1st fret, B string and E string. Now Tommy starts alternating with the thumb pick, but no muting yet. So you pluck D string, B string and E string at the same time, and you alternate with the thumb pick to the G string. Now, I missed out on one thing. I'm already holding down a bar across 3 strings, not just 2 strings, because now we're going to remove both the middle finger and the ring finger, and we're going to end up on a D minor 7 flat 5 chord, open D string, and then 1st fret, 1st fret, 1st fret, all with the bar on the G string, B string and E string. And again, just arpeggiating, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're keeping the bar and we're dropping down a C chord underneath. We're just going to play the low A string and the high E string at the same time, still holding down the bar. And you can play the B string and E string at the same time, no worries there. Just make sure you don't include that 1st fret on the G string that you're still holding down. And then, straight as we head with the thumb pick to the D string, now we are moving to muting in the picking head. So the 1st bar is open. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. We drop down the palm and we add some light muting to the bass part. Really briefly, it's going to be gone in a second. That section on the C chord, so you start on the 1st beat, still holding down that small bar, A string, B string, E string together. Then as you head for the bass note on the D string, you jump with the index finger only to the 1st fret on the B string and you pick the high E string at the same time. Just the bass note on the low E string, you alternate with the ring finger to the 3rd fret. And you re-pick bass note on the D string, B string and E string, still holding down the chord shape here. Now we're sticking to the same chord shape, we're going to move this up 2 frets. I think Tommy also adds the pinky in this point, giving you 5th fret on the low E string, 4th fret on the D string, 5th fret on the G string, 3rd fret on the B string, using the ring finger, middle finger, pinky, index finger. You're also going to need an open E string on top. Just as we switch over low E string, high E string, then we move to D string and B string at the same time. And then Tommy switches around. The ring finger jumps to the 4th fret on the D string, basically switching place with the middle finger. And the middle finger jumps over to the 4th fret on the low E string. going from a D dominant 7th chord with A in the bass to an A flat dominant 7th chord with a flat 5. This is a tritone substitution. Jazz heads know what this is all about. And we're basically swapping out a dominant chord with the one a tritone away. Most of the time this generates a chromatic path down, and you'll see in a second that is what's happening here too. So from D dominant over A to A flat dominant to G dominant. That is the full chord sequence here. So once more, this section on D chord, switching over, repicking the B string 3rd fret alongside the new bass note 4th fret on the low E string. As we head back to the D string, we repick the open E string. And then we drop down the whole thing, middle finger, ring finger, stick to the same string, and they just drop down 1 fret to 3rd fret on the low E string and B string. And we add the pinky to the 3rd fret on the B string. One more bass note just on the D string, that 3rd fret. And then a quick shift, again a tritone substitution to D flat 9 with a flat 5 in there as well. Middle finger 4th fret on the A string, ring finger 4th fret, pinky 4th fret on the G string and B string, and then you can add the index finger on the 3rd fret on the high E string. It's also quite possible that Tommy plays this as a bar and manages to catch the 3rd fret on the D string as well, but this is just, there's just a little bit, it's too narrow for me to get that chord sort of clean, but I just leave out that middle string, the D string, and just go for the top notes. That is what you're hearing in the melody anyway. So just that last bar, 1, 2, 3, and now adding it together with the previous bar, starting on the D dominant 7th chord. And then we head back straight into a repeat of what we mostly already know. So let me play those last 4 bars, starting on the F chord. Straight into that section again. Before we head there, let me recap those first 8 bars really quickly. And then the next section starts with the exact same thing. No changes whatsoever up until that point. Of course, Tommy plays some minor variations every now and then, but the chord shapes, the fingerings, everything is the exact same thing. Up until that point, up until the C chord. Maybe a really minor variation is just playing the melody on all 3 first beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Before that we did 1, 2, 3, 4. Melody only on the 4th beat. Now we change that around slightly, and then we move up to the 5th fret. D minor 7 sus4, so a bar on the 5th fret. Ring finger 7th fret on the D string. Pinky 8th fret on the B string. So 5th fret, 7th fret, 5th fret, 8th fret, 5th fret, but I don't actually need that top string. And all you're doing is playing the A string, G string, and B string at the same time. And just bass note on the A string, bass note on the D string, picking the same 2 top strings every time. Dropping down to G dominant 7th with the pinky on the 6th fret, so bar across the 3rd fret, ring finger 5th fret on the A string, again safety, you're not playing this note, middle finger 4th fret on the G string, and then pinky 6th fret on the B string. More or less a standard G dominant 7th chord shape. So 1, 2, 3, and then on the 4th beat you just let go of the pinky, 4. First beat, again, 1, 2 is on the D minor chord, then you drop down, low E string and B string, and then D string, G string and B string at the same time before dropping down to a C chord. And then depending on which way you go, you can play this little bass line going up, 3rd fret low E string, open A string, 2nd fret A string, and ending back up in a C chord. Those last 2 bars. And straight into the next section. So let me play those last 4 bars one more time, just adding that little section together. And maybe I skipped out on one small thing on the C chord. And after that last bass note on the D string, you play an open E string to sort of mask the transition up the neck to that 5th fret. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That is what you're going to do. It's optional. It don't have to do that, but it does mask the transition to that 5th fret. 1, 2, 3, 4. Open E string, and then to the D minor chord shape. And if you have that down, you already know 1/3 of the song. So the chorus sort of in an intro mode. All you have to learn now is the verse and sort of the full-blown chorus. But before we do that, first let me play one more time, slowly through this intro section, all the way through. And then the next section is something for part 2 of the tutorial. I'll see you there.